think I'm gonna do the world a favor by changing the name of this title to something more realistic. And you have a few choices to choose from. Rent a better anime, that time I was reincarnated as a simp, Love is Anything But This, and OnlyFans, the anime.
Kanojo Okarishimasu or Rent a Girlfriend is one of the worst anime I have ever had the displeasure of watching.
This is where you probably will say, well, not every story needs to be like Berserk or Ping Pong the animation. Just enjoy it for what it is. And you are indeed right. We should enjoy things that we like. But that is simply an insult to not go any further than that. And it's an insult to the meaning of anime to even suggest that Rent a Girlfriend should deserve that distinction.
It's like watching NASCAR. You don't watch NASCAR to see who wins. You watch NASCAR to see who crashes first. And that's kind of the appeal of Rent a Girlfriend. You're like watching this utter mess, but you can't stop watching it.
Man, it almost feels wrong to do this because it seems like everyone does. But it's time to go dunk on Rent a Girlfriend. It's low-hanging fruit, I know, but my hatred for this show knows no bounds, and I just have to jump on the dog pile of kicking the crap out of this show. The mere thought of this show gives me an aneurysm as I try to suppress my urge to go on a rage-filled rant. Rent a Girlfriend is a paradox in storytelling. It thrives on the hatred of the series, and the worse it gets, the more people watch. It's strange, because the only opinions I could ever find on this show are entirely negative. It's like everyone hates this show, and even the manga, for crying out loud. And it still keeps going. I mean, it's been renewed for a season 3. I've never seen a good thing said about this show other than it's only fun to watch because it's a train wreck. So why is there so much hatred for this show? Because it does nothing right. The show leads with a trash main character in the form of Kazuya. This is a dude who spends his free time rubbing it out because he's never been in a real relationship. And the byproduct of that probably makes his apartment smell lovely with how much he strokes himself there. It's like a temple of loneliness in that place. The guy's supposed redeeming qualities are almost non-existent and do not counterbalance the negative qualities he displays. And all the girls are more or less not worth paying attention to. And Kazuya only serves to cause problems for everyone else around him and never give any reason for the women featured as potential love interests to actually want to get with him. And the worst part of it all is that just about every joke I could make about this show has already been made. I'm late to this dunk fest and all the good material is already used. But hey, I can at least try. So let's start with a quick overview of what this show is about. Kazuya Kinoshita is a college student who wants to help out his family business. Okay, I consider that somewhat noble and respectable, if I didn't already know how much money this guy was going to piss away throughout the series. Honestly, that family business is doomed if he takes over, because his money management skills are awful. Back on track, Kazuya is living a normal college life now, gets a girlfriend, and gets dumped in the first episode. This is about the only intelligent decision, as this chick knew that Kazuya was no good. Anyway, his first breakup wrecks him. Alright, you know what? I can feel that. But his next course of action is to go right into jerking it to the girl who just broke his heart. Okay, dude, bonk your uncontrollable horny for like 5 seconds, please. I feel like the majority of the jokes in this show are just about Kazuya's habitual masturbation. Even his friends seem to know about it. This man has no sense of shame over things that matter, and experiences too much shame over things that don't, like admitting to the fact that he doesn't actually have a girlfriend, and that he hired a girl to pretend to be one in front of everyone. Okay, that might warrant some shame. I am off track again. So Kazuya is heartbroken and stumbles upon a rental girlfriend app and decides to try it out. That's how he meets the main love interest, Chizuru. So they go out on a date and he enjoys it. But then he gets super upset when he sees her being nice to other guys, like her job requires, and leaves a really nasty review of her on the app, and it sets her off. Surprise, surprise, it turns out she's both his neighbor and his peer at college, and she doesn't want anyone to know she works as a rental girlfriend. Unfortunately for poor Chizuru, coincidence keeps pushing the two of them together. On top of that, Kazuya won't stop causing problems. He lies to his friends and his family that he and Chizuru are actually dating, putting her on the spot and forcing her to cover for his poor decisions. Look, if there's a moral to this show, it's that you should never act like Kazuya. This dude is the worst example of a male character you could give. He's pathetic in all aspects and does nothing but drag everyone down with him as he tries to cover for his own insecurities. Yet he still ends up with 4 chicks who are varying degrees of into him for some godforsaken reason. This dude is a slimy coward who can't even admit to the fact that he got dumped and then went on a fake date to cheer himself up. On top of that, he's supposed to be like a business major or something in college, but he's constantly pissing away the tuition funds his family send to him on renting Chizuru so that he can keep up the lie that he's in a relationship. And that just puts her on the spot all the time, and she has to go out of her way to try and cover for him. In that regard, Chizuru is as much responsible for this mess as Kazuya, because she enables his behavior. If she had just stuck to her guns and let this slime ball drown in his own lies, things would have been so much better off for the both of them. Maybe Kazuya would have grown a backbone. Scratch that, this dude would never do that. And besides, if she had actually stuck it out and made him admit to his lies, they wouldn't eventually end up together. The idea that Kazuya is going to take over and save his family's business is the greatest joke this show puts out there. Because a guy like Kazuya, someone with no spine or ability to manage money, or even any impulse control, would burn the whole thing to the ground. To be fair though, I don't really think they have any other choice in the matter. And the women are almost just as bad. His first girlfriend, Mommy, the one who broke his heart in the first episode, is a psycho bitch hell-bent on ruining Kazuya's life for the crime of... who even knows? She doesn't have a reason as far as I can tell. She just likes to make everyone miserable. But Kazuya remains stuck on her up until he decides to jerk it to her a second time, only to realize in post-nut clarity that he doesn't actually like her. Yes, this is an actual plot point for the show! Then you have Ruka, who's also a bit of a crazy that falls in love with Kazuya because... her heart rate increased? What? Wait, women can't possibly be that easy, right? Jeez. I'd be taking girls out running if that was all I needed to get them to love me. So, Ruka is the super aggressive girl who's totally got the hots for Kazuya to the point where she forces herself on him repeatedly and even one time kisses him. Did I mention that she's only 17? Kazuya's 21, so do the math on that crap. Look, Kazuya, I'd be taking some legal action against that girl. She's got screws loose. And the last girl on the list is Sumi, a pink-haired Shoko Komi type who's the only likable character in this show. She hardly says anything, hardly does anything, and hardly gets any screen time. The fact that I know nothing about her is probably why I like her more than the others. Sumi fits the protect at all cost character archetype, but also seems the most likable overall. She seems like the only one worth a damn, but it's clear they won't be putting her in the forefront anytime soon, because that would actually make this show somewhat good. And then we have the main love interest, Chizuru, the one who makes all the drama with the other girls irrelevant because it's clear through sheer power of plot compulsion that she's the only one Kazuya could possibly choose. She's the most realistic and thus the most boring of them all. And her whole character is built around the idea that she needs to be an actor for her grandmother, who's dying. At least she's logical enough to tell Kazuya to just suck it up and deal with his own problems. But then she turns around and continues to bail him out as he flails around. This show drives the drama with my least favorite romance anime trope, the multiple love interests trope. Basically, you know everyone but the main girl isn't making the cut, but it tries to tease you with characters whose involvement is almost entirely irrelevant. It's such a lazy way to write romance that I'm surprised it gets used as much as it does. In instances where you have your main girl and then maybe one other conflicting love interest, that I can tolerate. But when you just start throwing more and more women into the mix, it just starts to drive me up the wall. The second really annoying trope this show employs is the interruption of intimate predicaments. This one isn't terrible, because it can be done right, like it was in Love is War. But it's abused in this show to drag the plot out for no other reason than the creator felt like he needed to extend the life of this project. Like, at any given moment where the destined couple are about to make any progress, they are inevitably interrupted before anything juicy can happen. And then they retreat back to their rooms, blush, say a couple of comments about each other, and then act like nothing happened. This series feels like the One Piece of romance. Not because it's a good and intricately written piece of manga. No, because it just drags the out of the plot. There's so much time wasted on garbage that's going to be entirely irrelevant in the end, that I'm fairly convinced they could have just taken these first 2 seasons and mashed them into one. This show can effectively be summed up as a bunch of girls orbit the trashiest loser of a male specimen they could find until he picks the one who the author ultimately wants him to. Like, I cannot for the life of me wrap my head around why anyone would want to get involved romantically with Kazuya. He's prone to forcing his problems into the faces of everyone around him because he can't just admit to the fact that he sucks. Like, how could a guy like this have so many girls gravitate towards him? I won't rule out the severe off chance that the author pulls a sneaky on us and all the girls actually turn out to be psychos and they end up going totally bonkers at the end because of him and they kill him. That would be one hell of a twist. Or if Chizuru was actually a yandere psycho this whole time and she set all of this up just to manipulate Kazuya into dating her. Chizuru with that Aizen level IQ out here just manipulating people. Short of some absurd and unbelievable twist like that, I don't think this show is worth your time. I see plenty of people who say the manga doesn't get any better than what we've seen in the anime. The weird thing is, there could have been some good ways to write this story. There are themes you could have tackled, like obligation, maturity, finding love in unexpected places. You could have made Kazuya's whole character arc about him having to man up and finally start acting like an adult and have to take responsibility for his life and face the consequences of his choices. And that causes him to mature as a man and he grows a backbone. He gains more confidence, chooses to admit to his lies, and then is there really any point in trying to rewrite Rent-a-Girlfriend? Whatever. There's plenty of existing factors that you could have used to support that kind of a story. But the story offers Kazuya no incentive to change his ways. In fact, it almost rewards him most times. He remains the same spineless simp throughout it all and continues to get away with it. Instead, the show decides it wants to say it's totally cool to be a spineless loser who drags people into his mess, because all the women flock to him for no other reason than the plot said so. Again, if Kazuya had grown as a person and developed more positive and masculine traits, I could understand. But this guy in no way grows as a character. He kind of remains the same dumbass simp he is the whole time. I do not like this show because it's just not well written. And honestly, I get the vibe that it's in the same vein as something like How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, where it's just the author fantasizing about finally being popular. Hilariously enough, every time I've mentioned this on the internet, people always start talking trash about it. And those who have read the manga, which I think is just insane. Like, why would you ever want to torture yourself like that? Always seem to say the same thing, that it only gets worse. How? How can this go on for 250 chapters, or 3 seasons, and only seem to get worse? It's like the author doesn't get it. I never really see love for this show outside the corporate advertisements for it. Where is the fan base? It's like it's a show that garners support for being trash. I'm losing my mind trying to figure out why this gets 3 seasons in 3 years, but Hyoka only gets 1 in 10 years. Berserk is a better love story than this. Hell, Attack of the Clones is a better love story than this. Sweat and Soap is easily a better love story than this. It's a freaking great manga. It deserves the attention more than this. Tell me, why? Why does this keep getting more anime? Why is this manga still running? Who's supporting this crap? Explain! Okay, memes aside, this really is just trash. I had an existential crisis watching this show because Rent-a-Girlfriend literally made me question my own taste in anime because I thought it might be good to watch before clicking on that first episode. And now might be a good time to say that if you actually do like this, please don't take this as a personal attack. I tend to hyperbolize a lot of what I say, so any jabs at the fan base in particular is solely just for comedy. If you enjoy this show, good for you. I'm happy you found something you like. But in my very humble opinion, this show is a 2.6 out of 10. That's what you get, Rent-a-Girlfriend. This is an anime that epitomizes my least favorite tropes in romance anime. The competing love interests who all have to fight for one guy. It just gets annoying because we all know the whole time who's getting together. On top of that, it's a bunch of ladies too good for the guy they swarm around. This is up there on my shit list with stuff like How Not to Summon a Demon Lord and Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro. I think it's accurate to say that I loathe this anime. My slightly hyperbolized and very theatrical rant aside, I stand by my points. I can't find anything worth watching this for. It's one of those things I will never grasp why people like, or who even likes it. I can't get past how awful Kazuya is. And in a series that's built on personal relationships and romance, you really need to be able to love the characters. And with all the prospective love interests falling into either the boring or psycho category, that doesn't really help it much either. And the final nail in the coffin is that the writing for this show is mid at its very, very best. If you want romance, you could find better options. I mean, My Dress Up Darling, Love is War, Tomo-chan is a Girl, Sweat and Soap, If You Dare Venture into That Territory. And then you could go for movies like Weathering with You or Your Name. Not that all of those are perfect, but I get a lot more enjoyment out of all of them than I do out of Rent-A-Girlfriend. But hey, in the end, this is just my take. Don't let me stop you from enjoying it. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. If not, I don't know. Fuck you too. I'm just kidding. Seriously, thanks a million for watching this far. And if you have some thoughts to share, go ahead and drop them in the comments. Have a great day and a wonderful week. Bye.